welcome to the Amiga Ireland podcast. I'm Jarlath, and with me today is Rob.
Hello.
And Luke.
Hiya.
How is everybody?
I'm a broken man after playing football for the first time in months, and that's about it. But Amiga related, I've been working on a little game that it's only a simple kind of Tron clone, but that's sort of going to be material for my programming tutorials in Amiga Future in the next few months.
Ooh, is this for Amiga Future magazine?
That's it, yeah. So it's basically the tutorials are going to build up and eventually will lead up to this game, the code being published in the magazine.
How about you, Luke?
Well, I've been getting a little bit, sleepless nights, and in my spare time, I'm trying to read forums and try to help people, with different obstacles and problems regarding their Amigas. So I'm not much of a programmer, but from the software side, I like tinkering if it comes to operating system. So that would be my idea if it comes to that.
Yeah, you do a lot of that actually, don't you, Luke? I've seen a lot of forums where you've jumped in and helped people sort out networking issues.
Well, because, sometimes, because networking in general is not that very hard, if it comes to that. And people get stuck in very, very, sometimes simple things. And once you help them to go through, it's easy for them to connect to later on finish with the process.
Yeah, you'd make a good software engineer or a good programmer. Definitely.
I think I'm too old for that. Well, you never know.
Never too old. Never too old.
You never know. I like playing chess. I didn't like maths at school.
So we went to Portumna, which is an hour's drive from Galway here. And we found the best pub by a long shot. It's called Martin's, and the man who runs it is in his 80s. His name is Billy. So in this pub, the locals come from near and far, and they have the most interesting stories, and they're the most friendly, sociable people I have met in a pub where I didn't know anybody. You serve your own drinks behind the bar. You go and pull your own pints or pour your own shorts with the measuring glass or whatever it is. And you pay your bill at the end when you leave. You can chat to Billy the barman.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. And he was showing his letters there from 1908 onwards, correspondence to and from his family. Absolutely fascinating stuff the people took the time to sit down and write about back then.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
So what have we got in the news?
Well, Icarus Desktop, they've started a Patreon campaign so you can support them. If anyone doesn't know, Icarus is a distribution of Eros, and it's actually really, really good. You can download the ISO and burn the CD and boot it on your PC, and they do a really, really great job of maintaining and updating that with, loads of packages that you might need, and it's a great thing to support it.
Yeah, I like Icarus Desktop actually.
I haven't had the opportunity of trying it, actually, to be honest. I know Eros, but maybe in the future. We'll see.
I actually had it installed on, a multi-booting PC that I have here, but a Linux update broke it. And I never really installed it again. So I have it in a virtual machine now, but a virtual machine is a very easy way to run it. And, you can transfer it between machines then if you need to, and you don't need to worry about drivers or anything like that. It works quite well.
Oh, good. Really good then. Right, next thing would be OpenGL on Vampire Cards. Vampire Cards seems to be very, very hot topic nowadays, and more developers, different developers, have started joining the Apollo team, or working on their own actually on different stuff regarding Vampire Cards. One of these developers is a guy, actually my friend, Hungarian friend, Norbert Cat, and he's been known as the author of Google Drive and Dropbox, and it seems that this guy is very, very talented. And a couple of weeks ago he found a TinyGL library on Aminet, and he's just amazing because he's just started reworking it to have it working with Vampire. And in my opinion, this is a big step towards 3D games for Vampire cards. Don't you agree, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Because towards the end of sort of the Amiga's life, there were a few games and things that actually started using OpenGL, and there aren't many out there, but it's really impressive to see them running on it, and that hardware is more than capable of it.
Yeah.
So it's great to see it.
So I'm really looking forward to his library, OpenGL library for Vampire cards implementation. So that might be something, in my opinion. That might be actually something.
And for people like me who don't know much about OpenGL on Amiga, what was the status of it up until now, and what is Norbert doing with it?
Well, he's been trying, to test it, actually. In my opinion, and his opinion, testing it on UAE is not a good idea, actually.
It's not a true representation of the machine,
Yeah, that's right. It's not a true representation. I agree.
Speed-wise, anyway, yeah.
Definitely. Even though you can limit it somehow, still, it's not the same.
Yeah. That's it. And especially the Vampire is... it's a slightly different type of hardware as well. It's not actually emulated in UAE yet. So
yeah, that's right. That's again.
There's no substitute for actually running it on the hardware.
Yeah, that's again a good point. Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of Vampire, the Vampire 500 is going into mass production, or as Majda says on his blog, going massive. So yeah, he announced that it was going to a professional manufacturer, which I was happy to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That guy has had, a lot of other hardware projects that have basically been put on hold while he's been working on the Vampire, and it'd be great to see him picking them up as well, if the grunt work is taken off and by manufacturing.
Well, the demand's been huge, so that's the only option, if it comes to producing it for the community. I think 2,000 or even more than 2,000 orders have been placed.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, this is massive.
Yeah.
Well, 2 days after he posted that, he posted another image, which was a cardboard box full of accelerator cards, and he said he'd received those within 2 days. So, yeah, wow. I mean, it's hard to know. There wasn't much. He didn't say much in addition to the pictures, really, so it's hard to quantify it, but it looks like it's going to really alleviate their production processes, which is great.
Mm-hmm. No, that's brilliant. It's great to hear.
I absolutely agree.
It means you can hope to get one in a matter of weeks, maybe, rather than, some people are waiting 6 months or more for the original Vampires.
And hopefully they can focus more on Vampire 1200.
Yes, that's what I'd like as well.
Okay. What else have we got?
Another new software release, there's been an update for AmiCloud, which, if anyone doesn't know, it's a cloud system, effectively, that's Amiga orientated, but not Amiga exclusive. So it lets you share files and, sync to a server and access them from anywhere. But it has clients specifically for the various Amiga platforms, but also for Windows and I think Linux as well. So, so you're not stuck just on the Amiga platforms. And that's getting regular releases, and there's a new release out recently as well. So that's great to see.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. I didn't realise that even existed.
It was talked about for quite a while, and then I think some stage last year it actually went live, if you like. But yeah, it's pretty much the work of one guy, and it's an impressive amount of work gone into it. Now, it is a paid for service, but it's not, it's not crazy money. And you kind of get used to having free stuff with Google Drive and all that kind of stuff, but it's not that expensive. And, supporting this guy who's doing it in his spare time is great. Yeah,
we do get used to free stuff, don't we? And I think we undervalue a lot of the things that are available to us.
That's the problem. Yeah. You start expecting it, you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Right. Morphos is still alive. And... there seemed to be, like a web portal called morphosstorage.net, where there are regular updates of MorphOS software, different software, games, apps, themes, and, things that concern MorphOS. So if anyone's using, MorphOS and would like to find new updates, new software updates, feel free to have a look down there. I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, because there's already there's already AmiNet, of course, and there's already a MorphOS kind of repository, but I'm not sure what the difference is with this one. Do you know?
Well, if it comes to that, that one is strictly and purely MorphOS, just like, for example, OS4 Depot. That's purely, I think, PPC OS4. So
yeah, but was there not already a MorphOS one that's tied to MorphZone? Mm-hmm. Or am I?
Yeah.
I'm sure there was. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this one is pretty okay as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I did see some news about it. It's by the same guy who does the Chrysalis software, isn't it? Or the Chrysalis package, yeah, which is excellent.
Yeah, French. He's French.
I can't remember his name now.
I can't remember it either, to be honest.
Yeah. Papiosaur is his
nickname.
His handle anyway. Yeah.
Well, Amibian developer Leonard Assenden has posted videos showing UAE running in a browser on top of Amibian, which is also running in a browser. So Scripted Amiga Emulator SAE is a version of UAE written in JavaScript. Well, possibly not written in JavaScript. It could have been converted to JavaScript from C++. I'm not 100% sure. But it's designed to run in a browser using JavaScript and HTML5.
Yeah, this is mental. This is mental. This is I've seen these videos there. It's unbelievable, really. You know, I think it's very impressive.
Yeah, I actually had to watch it a few times because I didn't believe what I was seeing, because there was basically like a workbench desktop. It looked like OS4. It's OS4 inspired desktop running in the browser, but then that desktop is running UAE, which was running demos and different stuff, music players and things. It's very, very impressive. And speaking of cloud-based software, Friend are getting ready to release their RC3 candidate, which is in final testing at the moment. They've got some new goodies lined up, which include native hardware access, Amiga-style interfaces for non-Amiga systems like databases and applications, which they can integrate to. So they have all of these drivers now to integrate with all kinds of systems. They've improved conference calls on it, and an open source release is on the way. Have either of you used Friend yet?
I haven't now.
I think I've used it, but, don't remember. It was at the very beginning of the development, I think, but I haven't got it, I haven't had the opportunity to get back to it, actually, I'm pretty sure I'll have a look at, into it.
It's interesting for developers because there's so many ways you can work with it. You can write a HTML5 app for the Friend desktop. So just a recap for anyone who doesn't know, Friend delivers a fully blown desktop through the web browser, and you can use it on a phone, a laptop, any device that can display a web page, more or less. And what you can do now is you could say write a HTML5 app and distribute it, for example. That would be one thing you could do. Say there's an example there of a calculator already. But you can also say you could write something, say, in C and access native hardware and things like that on the client machine. So even though it's running in a browser, you can still have 3D graphics and stuff like that. You can access microphones, cameras, all of that. So if it's a powerful machine you're running it on, you can run intensive applications through it as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but there's a friend of mine who's, into his Amigas back in the day. Actually got me into my Amigas. Hi, Will. But he was, he has his own little IT business himself now, and completely sort of unrelated to the Amiga scene, got himself on the beta testing program for Friend OS, which is interesting to see it come full circle almost.
That is interesting, yeah.
But yeah, so completely outside the Amiga scene, and he's on the developers thing. So that's
and
great.
there are actually a lot of analogies because the system itself is very inspired by the Amiga operating system.
Well, even the name, Friend, Amiga. Yeah,
that's right, yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah,
and if you download from GitHub the open source release, say, there's a lot of .library files and stuff like that, and you'll see
similar directory structure, isn't it?
.info files for some of the applications and things like that. Yeah, so it would look familiar. I think, and I think that's part of the idea, because I know that Hogne Titelstad, the lead architect for this, is very passionate about Amiga architecture and wants to develop on that. I know he's literally developing on it, but he wants to expand on that kind of ideology of Amiga and bring it to the web and to the cloud.
Okay, so what's next? Another AmiNet release this in the last couple of weeks. Icon Library version 46.4. Now, if anyone is using this, it's a great bit of programming. It's a replacement for the standard icon library. Handles all the icons in Workbench and, their behavior and properties and all that. So it's a replacement for the standard library in OS 3. And so it works on 3.0 and it will also work on 3.9. And there are actually some extra features under 3.9 that it uses, of the 3.9 version of Workbench. But it adds a lot of things like it's more efficient than the standard library. It can use all different types of icons like OS4 icons, PNG icons from MorphOS. It can use, a lot of this and without having to have extra patches or anything installed. When you drag icons, they go semi-transparent and, it adds a lot of nice effects without any real overhead, So it works great I've got it on an O30 machine and it just on the AGA chipset and it works brilliantly. So it's just really nice to see. And it's getting regular updates all the time. It's great to see that going.
I've been using that as well, to be honest, and the best thing actually is it saves chip RAM as well.
Yes.
Everything goes to fast RAM, which saves chip RAM and speeds everything a lot. And in conjunction with FBlit, this is just really, really, really great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a big boost, especially for the 3.0 and 3.1. They really, really benefit from that.
Yeah, I use it. I use it, wherever I can.
Yeah, no, I have it installed on 3 1200s, and there's one with the graphics card and two without, and it runs great on all of them. And on the graphics card, of course, it's proper semi-transparent icons and all that, and it basically acts and behaves the very same in OS 4. Which is lovely, because I use that as well, and MorphOS. So, it makes it feel more like the rest of them.
It's snappier. It's really much snappier.
Yeah. Lovingly hand-coded in assembly as well.
A really great job. Really, really great job. And, regularly updated, which is again, good. Yeah. So, we've got another one, if it comes to updates. Last time we were talking about AMI SSL 4.0, and right now we've got an update 4.1, so it's just number bump with some bug fixes, and I'm really glad that after not a single word from developers of AMI SSL, being stuck on 3.6 for I think more than 10 years, out of a sudden we've got an update of that very, very crucial library every month. So hope it stays like that, really.
Absolutely, a very useful piece of software.
Yeah,
essential, definitely. Basically, especially more and more websites are using HTTPS now, and
yes,
just needs it.
Okay, well, in the last couple of days, Stephen Leary of the Terrible Fire Accelerator project has released a very entertaining video on YouTube. So the Terrible Fire accelerators are a range of accelerators that are being created with an open source hardware design that Stephen Leary is making available online, and you can order actual PCBs from dirtypcbs.com.
Yeah, you'll find them anyway.
But one thing he's noticed is that when he started mentioning in his YouTube videos that he was using Ataris to cross-test his designs, because he can catch corner cases that he mightn't find if he just tests on Amigas. So he's making these for both Atari and Amiga. He got an awful lot of hate from people. So
crazy
absolutely,
people.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But
yeah, I swear it was 1988 again.
You would. I know, yeah. It's like the West Side Story for nerds, isn't it? With the reds and the blues. But he's come out with a really, really good video response. And what he's done is he's got the Dueling Banjos, that song from the movie Deliverance. And he has the Atari STE playing one banjo, and he has the Amiga playing the other part, and they're playing together in time, and it's absolutely fantastic. So the link for that will be in the show notes.
Very good, yeah.
Who knows, we might even play out the episode with it.
Yeah, I've seen the video. The synchronization is just absolutely massive, you know.
Yeah, he seems to be a bit of a character, this guy. You know,
He is.
He's very good.
He's great.
Okay, so we have a bit of news on the Kickstarter for David Pleasance's book. I think we mentioned it last time out, but there's a stretch goal at it, and currently at £41,000. But if it reaches £45,000, everyone gets a download of the video of the story of Commodore changing the world 8 bits at a time. Now, this is also a Kickstarter project that's been completely funded, so that's it. And David Pleasance was involved in this himself, so get pledging.
Yeah, that's fantastic news. That's such a treat for everyone that's already backed the project too.
Yeah, absolutely. And right, time for another shameless plug. Since the last podcast, I've uploaded another program that I was working on for years and never finished it. It's a manager for handling all the assigns that you have set up on your system. So it's a little program, runs, and you can list all the assigns and edit them, and it'll edit your startup sequence for you, user startup, and let you sort of enable and disable them as you want without having to actually go in manually and comment out bits of your scripts. So it's just something I had that I thought would be handy. I've already got a couple of bug reports, so there'll be another update on that in the next little while, but it's up on AmiNet now.
You know the way there's startup sequence and there's user startup, does it pick up on both of those or just one?
It does, yeah. Now, it doesn't pick up on other things. There are other patches that can take over the assigned system, and it doesn't deal with any of them. It's just if you have the more or less standard setup. Like lots of extra stuff added, but not using MCP's assign manager or anything like that. But yeah, so it'll let you, you can just double click it and it will comment it out in the user startup file, for example. And, see if you want to disable something temporarily or re-enable it. And so it's a handy little thing sometimes, yeah.
And can it pick up on existing assigns that were originally typed in?
What it does is it scans the user startup script and the startup sequence script, and it will list them all there, as well as any assigns that are live on the system from other places, and things like libs and sys and things like that aren't in any script. So, and it'll categorize them. It'll show you where they're from, basically, and if it knows. But you can enable and disable all of them if you want, and obviously you shouldn't disable some of them because they're quite critical to the system. But they're all there for you, so you can see them and see exactly what they're about.
Excellent. I'll be downloading that one.
There you go.
Okay, will we move on to our game section?
Go for it.
Here we go. So I have just received in the post a copy of a new C64 fanzine called Freeze 64, and it's a really cool little magazine that covers a lot of different topics. Like, for example, he has an interview with John Hare, which is pretty cool actually, because it covers a lot of the C64 stuff. We spoke with John Hare at the Amiga Ireland event, and this is actually all different info here, which is really nice to read. He includes pokes and cheats for a few games. He takes out some kind of sample software to, and he reviews it. And he also includes collectible cards, which you can't show them now, obviously, because we're on the podcast. But if you look up Freeze64 online and check him out, it's a really cool little project. He's running it himself, printing them and posting them out. And I really encourage anyone who's into the C64 to check it out.
Speaking of the C64, Lumberjack, which was a very simple game, just, basically had to chop down a tree. There's nothing much to it, but it was good fun. But there's a remake of that now for the Amiga as well, and it's updated with much more colourful graphics and taking advantage of the Amiga hardware, and so that's looking quite good.
We covered a one-to-one conversion of the C64 one of Lumberjack for Amiga. It's almost identical. So then, like you said, this one is all souped up using the Amiga goodness.
Yeah, no, it looks very impressive.
Just to add, the graphics for the enhanced version have been done by Coyote. He's a Polish guy again who was working on a game, Tanks Fury.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember the
that's a
game?
Great game.
I remember discussion on Polish Amiga portal. He really wanted to enhance the graphics for that game, and he did that. And the enhanced version is the result, and I'm really glad that he did that because the game looks really, really good now.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. Right, and another one from the C64 scene, there's a game called Power Gloves. The game is actually in progress, and it's been for quite some time, but I think it's worth waiting for. There's a German developer called Lazy Cow, and he's been working on this game. There are some videos, like non-playable demos to download. The game is really nice one, and you can actually download it for your C64 or for your Windows machine or for your Linux machine or for your OS X machine. But it's a good thing that another version for Amiga is being developed actually. I don't know if you've seen it, guys. If not, have a look at the show notes, and I'm pretty sure it's worth waiting for.
Yeah, I saw the YouTube video. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's very, very colourful, even though I think he uses like 8 or 10 colours. Really, really good one.
Okay, well, another release recently is Amibird, which is a Flappy Bird clone. The developer is Dean Hand, and he's planning more Amiga releases in the coming months, he says. So there's a link to that too in the show notes. And this game has a special place here in our home. When we go to the arcade down the road, Sea Point in Galway, there's a huge Flappy Bird. I don't know what they've called it. It's some non-infringing spin on the name, like Happy Bird or something. But there's a huge button that you have to hit with your hand. And it's just that single button, and my girl runs over to that straight away every time. She absolutely loves it. So I was playing it today, and I got to 30. So I'm looking forward to showing it to her tomorrow. It's actually it's a really faithful version.
It looks good, yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, just talking about the Flappy Bird clones and all that. Sometime last year, I can't remember exactly when it was, there was a mention of a programming competition for the old 8-bit computers. And the idea was you had to write a game in 10 lines of BASIC. So on your Commodore 64s, your Atari 800s, and that class of computer, the BBC Micros. And some guy did a Flappy Bird clone in 10 lines of BASIC. It was impressive.
How is it possible?
I don't know if it won, but it probably should have. It really should have. But it's very impressive. Using all the shortcuts that you can to get the code into the whatever 127 characters you can fit on a line. It was very impressive stuff. But he called it Flappy Dot. It was literally just a dot. But it was very good. It worked.
Yep,
it was a fully working game, and 10 lines of BASIC.
Oh, I love it.
Crazy. But anyway, yeah, another release from the past really is Time Gal. This is one of these sort of computer laserdisc game, so it plays video clips as you play through it, and it's sort of like an interactive movie, I suppose. Someone has done a one-to-one conversion of that for I think for the CD32, or is it out for all of them? I can't remember. But it looks impressive. It's something that's far from my normal kind of my normal comfort zone, these games. But it looks very impressive, and it's great to see all these old games being getting a new lease of life on the Amiga.
Resurrected.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is, I'm pretty sure you all guys know the game called Dyna Blaster. You remember it? Yeah. I think you can play it with 4 players, and I feel like I'm gonna have a go and check it. And actually, when you go to hall.abime.net and market some options, you can find a lot of games that you can play with 4 players. You will find the link in the show notes, of course, but that's an interesting thing because a lot of games can use an additional adapter that can be attached to, I think, parallel port. And you can play, like 4 players in the Dyna Blaster, which is really, really exciting, I think. I think we did that last time in our Ireland meeting, or didn't we? I just don't remember. I know that you wanted to order that. It was so fast. Everything was fast. But I'm really sure you really wanted to order that, that device for the parallel port. But I don't remember if we had the opportunity to actually test it.
You remember right. What happened was, I think somebody posted up a list. It wasn't that list, though. It was a shorter list. This is a much longer list you found of 4-player games, which is fantastic. And what we decided to do is to get 2 of those adapters so that you could turn an Amiga, say Amiga 1200, into a 4-player station. So we looked around and we found Amiga Kit had them in stock.
Yeah, Amiga
so
Kit,
we ordered them. This was only a few days before the event. This isn't even a week before the event. It's only a couple of days. So it turned out Trevor Dickinson was going to meet the guys from Amiga Kit before he came to Ireland. So I sent both of them a message asking them to exchange it because I didn't think the post would get it to us on time. So when Trevor got here, he opened up his travel bag, his suitcase, and when he opened it up, it was full of Amiga stuff. There was hardly anything else in it. He had posters he had brought to give away to people at the event, and he had Amiga Aeon notebooks to give away, and he had the joystick controllers in there and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it was very funny. So it was more like an Amiga case.
Yeah.
Of stuff. Yeah.
That's Dyna Blaster game. It's actually I have regular game nights here in Glasgow, and that's a popular one. So if you have Sensible Soccer, Dyna Blaster, the usuals.
I think they are popular all around the world. It's the same in Poland, Sensible Soccer and Dyna Blaster is still there, holding fast. There's, also a network clone called Dynamite.
Yeah.
And there's a German server when you can join in and, have a regular, like a battle with different people from all around the world. And I think there's a clone for Commodore 64 as well when you add the adapter for 4 players. Don't remember the title right now. There's an adapter that you can add to the user port and play this Dyna Blaster, actually Bomberman clone, and it's really, really great. Yeah.
Would you believe though that Dyna Blaster is actually a 5-player game, because you can play 4 players with joysticks and a 5th player on the keyboard. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Plenty of drunken 5-player matches now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it gets a bit chaotic, but it's good fun.
The only thing left is to do some kind of semaphore tapping on the MCIA port or something.
Get someone else in, yeah.
Great. Oh, that's me. So a 1994 game, Standard Deviation, was due to be released at the time for the Amiga 1200 and the CD32. The reviews were poor at the time and it was cancelled, but it has finally been released. It's a kind of I think it was branded a rip-off of Project X. At the time was one of the criticisms levelled at it. But the comments now seem to be appreciative.
Positive. I must say positive.
Like I said earlier, it's nice to see these things being resurrected, or given a chance at least.
Well, I think right now, every game is just like a gem, and I'd love to see, for example, I know there is a version of, for example, Mega Race buried somewhere, for Amiga, and I'd love to have this one resurrected as well. And I know that there's a portal that specializes in digging out, different facts and different old games.
Lost games.
Called Amiga Games that weren't. And they've had some success if it comes to resurrecting games from different developers from the 80s, from the 90s. So that's a good thing again. Right, next thing, they are the discoveries. So I've recently found out that Jim Drew, the same Jim Drew that's responsible for the Fusion Mac emulator and Wii modem for C64, so that's a Wi-Fi modem, is going to produce a Wi-Fi modem for the Amiga. It's going to be called Y Modem 232. So I think this is going to be interesting. It opens up again another thing which is BBSing for our Amigas. You can do it with with the Ethernet or Wi-Fi card. As having like a specialized modem is a good thing. There's another option. A guy called Paul Rickards is currently collecting interest on a 25-pin RS232 Wi-Fi modem as well. The link for the poll and the link for the picture of that modem will be in the show notes as well to raise the interest.
Very good. Yeah, this is great because I love the idea of everyone who has an Amiga 500 being able to use it, expand its potential. To do other things like networking and stuff like that.
But the thing is, you can use these modems with, every device that's got, like a parallel port or the, RS232 port, that would be Atari ST or Atari ST or old PCs and all Amiga models, So that's really good, I think. The gives a new lease of life into these computers.
And what is the BBS scene like today, compared to say IRC?
To be honest, I'm pretty sure that the BBS scene, if it comes to Commodore 64, thanks to different, options of different modems, is pretty lively. There's a special, like a BBS site, website where the BBSs are, updated on a daily basis. And if it comes to Amiga, I'm not sure if there are actually any. I think there is one or two, active BBSs, but I'm 100% sure that that the Commodore, the C64 scene is very, very, very lively if it comes to that. There are the different, options for user port as well, so you can use, the previously mentioned Y modem, produced by Jim Drew. There's a better version, a different version actually of a Wi-Fi modem, developed by a guy called Schema, and there's an Australian guy who produces a Wi-Fi modem for C64 as well. Actually, for all the Commodore 8-bit machines. So there's a choice. There's a choice, and thanks to that there's there are different devices. The scene is again the BBS scene has been resurrected.
Great. Well, I'm going to have a CRT monitor delivered to me tomorrow. The monitor is coming from Pedro from Galway, so thanks Pedro, in the Ireland group, and Craig Harrison is delivering it, so thanks to Craig for doing the delivery. So
save you that on shipping.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah. Definitely. So I'm going to check those out. Actually, yeah, that'd be really interesting. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, let's go for the events. There's been a huge demo party recently. If it comes to scene, it's called Data Storm, and it's been held in Sweden, in Gothenburg, and there's been a lot of like Amiga and C64's productions. So I really, if you're into demo scene and like demos, I really strongly encourage to have a look at the show notes and see that as well. A lot of great demos, intros, music, pictures to be seen, to be listened to. You guys won't be disappointed. And there's another thing that's been very interesting and, to be honest, very crucial, is the revision party, which takes place in Germany. This is the biggest. This is the biggest event if it comes to demo scene, and it's got all flavors. And I don't know if you've seen, the previous installments of Revision. Have you guys seen it? Revision demo party.
I've seen like clips and read some reviews of stuff, but I haven't actually gone and watched it. Some of the there's some proper footage of it.
Yep, there's a live live stream as well, so you can follow that. And usually there are like thousands of people going to that party, from all around the world actually. So this is the biggest one in Europe. I'm pretty sure it might actually be biggest in the world.
That wouldn't surprise me by the looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an event calendar added to the Polish Amiga portal, and that's a favourite spot of yours, I'm sure, Lucas. It's in Polish, but it covers Amiga events all over the world, it seems. And, it's great to see what's coming up and, see if there's anything near you that you can get to. Again, it's in Polish, but it runs fine through Google Translate.
Worth checking, because it covers, not only the demo scene parties, but, the parties that are going on as well.
Yeah, and for demo-specific events, there is a calendar at demoparty.net that you can check out that has events from all around the globe as well.
In other news, iBrowse is a popular browser for the 68K users, and it's an old browser, so it doesn't support CSS. But for websites that don't need CSS, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great bit of kit, and one of the first browsers, I believe, to have tabbed browsing. Long before all the big ones. Yeah.
I think it was actually the first one that had that.
I always remember being very impressed with that back in the day, when I got my first modem in the 90s, I'd say. And I was like, oh, wow, this is an impressive way of doing things. And I think it also did it have a feature where you could search, all browsers now have the little search box that ties into a browser, but it had that.
Yeah.
And you could configure 4 different search engines, and it would split into 4 and give you the 4 different search engine results, which I thought was great as well. But anyways, iBrowse 2.4 has been out for years.
More than 10 years.
The version has been around for a long time. And there's always been talk of version 2.5, and it's still not out, but there seems to be a bit of activity now about it, and it looks like there's a little bit of development going on. So that'd be great to see. So the website FAQs have been updated, and there's a little bit there, about the update and basically bug fixes and adding, support for AMI SSL, and nothing major, but important for people who are still using it.
Great. Another thing is that there's going to be a new paper magazine in English called Amiga User, and in the 0 issue you will find things like practical design in Maxon CAD, the fastest hardware for Amiga system, how to create legendary Boeing animation in Hollywood, which is a really good program, better workbench on Amiga 500, and last but not least, strategy games reviews. Guys, there's been a lot of magazines around. For example, which one is actually the oldest that's stayed afloat?
Amiga Future is probably the longest running, because that's around since the mid to late 90s, I think. I should know that, but I don't. See, some of them were around for quite a while because they evolved from Commodore 64 magazines. Like CU Amiga, they were around up until 1998 or something like that, but they started out as Commodore User. And so then it was Commodore Amiga User, and it was, that it sort of transitioned into the Amiga. So it's hard to sort of say whether that's a new magazine or, if you want to take the C64 bit into account. So some of them, I think, there are a couple that came from the C64 they were going for quite a while. But, I don't know. But, I think Amiga Future could have it there.
Well, I think, the more is going on around the scene, and the community, the better for its development, The same as for example, with podcasts. There are so many there have been so many podcasts right now, including ours. But
yeah, and it's a healthy sign that someone's, giving
the more
this a go.
the merrier.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. The community is alive and thriving, and which is again a good sign,
Okay, let's move on to our Amiga Around the World section. There is a thriving Italian Amiga community that I discovered recently. On Facebook, there's a group with over 5,000 members. They have some really good posts there and active members, and a lot of it involves, posting, photo albums of games, really nicely put together posts. I did get caught out with my use of Google Translate in there. I was busted pretty early on, but yeah, it's a nice little group to check out, and I'm actually going to be going to Italy soon, so I might see if anybody's going to be in the area.
Very good.
And also, AmigaFrance.com has launched, and it's a new Amiga portal, and I went on there just for a quick hello to see what they were up to, and I'd like to say a quick hello to Jim, Agami, Jean 3.5, EC, and the other friendly folks there. And they tell me that there are Amiga events in France, so I hope to find out a bit more about those in the future. Is it time for the sports desk?
Go for it.
Let's go.
Go!
Okay, so we got some news from sensiblesoccer.de about the Amiga Super League that they're running. So a couple of shocks actually, where we've got the previous finalist last year and the Danish Swas Star were both relegated, which is unusual, and it's never happened to them before. So this is a big shock now. It was won by Nestoroid. Am I pronouncing that right? Nestoroid. That was more expected, but that's brilliant and well done to him. Very, very tight league. So, for example, the positions 5 to 10 was covered by just 2 points. So that was tight stuff. It seems to be, getting more and more players all the time, and now they've got 4 divisions were played in April, or are to be played in April, which is, it's great to see. And there's a 2nd division in the Polish league as well. And just a reminder that Sensible Day 2017 is in Budapest on the 29th and 30th of July. So that's effectively the World Cup of Sensible Soccer. So, if you have a chance, give that a look.
I'd actually love to go just to watch the games and have a few drinks.
Absolutely. I'd say it'd be a great atmosphere, all right.
Go!
Okay, well, we had a poll last time. The question we asked was, what language would you most like to hear David Pleasance's book translated to, if not English? So this was an unusual poll to run on an English language podcast, but we did get 65 voters. So thanks to everybody who voted. And the results, I think, show that clearly the overwhelming majority voted for Polish translation. That was 57% of the votes. And everything after that then is a distant, for example, next in line is Spanish at 14%, German at 12%, French 9% of the votes, Italian 6%, Chinese 2% of the votes. So thanks to everybody who voted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks very much.
Brilliant. And we will have a new poll with the Gotek available, as well as easy networking solutions for Amiga. How do you feel about the floppy drive and diskettes? The suggested answers are A. Floppy is one thing I don't feel nostalgic about. Let it die. Long live Gotek and networking. B. Floppy disks give me the warm and fuzzies. I love them. And C. I don't care either way. I'm dead inside. So which would be yours, guys?
I'm perfectly happy without them, but you do need them for some things, unfortunately. And but no, I've ever since I got a hard drive, I've been no, can do without them.
I actually have a floppy fetish. I just
Oh dear.
Yeah, I really do. I absolutely love them.
Oh my!
I have the Google Drive cloud handler that Norbert Kett created, and it's just so much easier for me to. It means I can work on the Amiga. I can do some compositions, work on some documents there, and then do any more kind of advanced editing on the laptop later. So I love that. That enables me, but I really do love using floppy disks.
Do you want to know my answer?
Yes.
Go for it.
I've got a similar feeling, but I've got like a disk drive, and I can't see an Amiga without a disk drive. It has to have a disk drive. In my opinion, VHD load, networking, and disk drives are the really, really good thing. I'm not fully convinced to Gotek, to be honest. That's the thing. So, networking, VHD load, and floppy drives, that would be my answer. The hard drive, just like you said, Rob.
And that's it.
Maybe we should add, more options.
Yeah, well, maybe, but I think that covers everything with the floppy drives. But I bought my first hard drive it was a 1.4 gig hard drive. Now I had other ones in other computers, but for the Amiga, it was 1.4 gigs. And, this was enormous at the time. And that was it. I was like, everything I could possibly install, I installed. And then, WHD load came along and it's just, that was the end of floppy disks, more or less, for me. But I say that, I'm looking at my 1200 tower here and it's got 3 floppy drives in it. So, including a 5.25 inch floppy drive. Yeah. So, I like to have the availability there just in case, but, I don't often use them unless something catastrophic happens.
But they remind you of the past. Yeah. That's the thing.
And that's the thing. Even though I don't use them, I still have them enabled, and the 3 of them still click away there whenever I'm using it. It's like a little heartbeat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch Miss Mad Lemon's videos on YouTube, but she does some amazing Amiga videos. We must go into her in more detail actually in another episode. But she covers all kinds of mods and stuff for Amiga, like how to do an SD card hard drive instead of CF and stuff like that. And she does some C64 mods. But I completely relate to her because she loves floppy disks, cassettes. So at the beginning of some of her videos, she would put a cassette into a Sony Walkman and press play, and that would be the music playing in the background and stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Like a time machine going back to 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Do you remember going jogging with a Walkman, and if your tracksuit wasn't tight enough around your waist,
oh god,
yeah, it would weigh down your tracksuit. You'd have to hold the Walkman in your hand.
God, yeah. That's the thing. I was never. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I like some of my retro stuff, but things like cassette tapes, no. I had a few, and it just no. As soon as mini disc came along, I was all over that. Yeah. Some things are better consigned to the past, and happy for people who like them, but yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be dependent on them. I like having a couple, just yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to listener feedback.
Right, so first of all, we would like to invite everyone to the IRC channel. It's called Amiga IE, on the irc.freenode.net server. I'm pretty sure you know that Amiga's got some pretty decent IRC clients. Mm-hmm. So, for example, like IRC, Wookie Chat, or Black Earth to connect to it. And there's usually someone down there on that channel, so we warmly encourage everyone to join us and to exchange your information, to exchange your opinions, and to have a chat down there.
Yeah, it's a nice channel, and you can actually also get to it from amigausers.ie. You can click the chat button at the top, and there's an embedded chat window there that you can meet us on.
Very good, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback, comments, suggestions, any news items you think we should be covering. Please get in touch. And that is all for today. So thank you everybody for listening. Please get in touch, give us your feedback, and we will see you in a month's time.
Thanks
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.